Welcome to 1000 Only. This is OneKimmie. For this account we will be alternating between killing 1000 monsters and progressing the account for 1000 minutes. The series is inspired by the 1000 Only series started by Vannaka 5 years ago, with the main difference being that OneKimmie is a 9 account. I intend to have input from the viewers just like Vannaka did, however while we start off the first 5 videos will be my own choice. Currently, the plan is to have 5 videos where we just kill normal monsters. Any videos ending in 4 or 9 will be Slayer oriented, usually going for 1000 Slayer kills, and any video ending in 5 or 0 will be some form of boss. The main goals of this account are to progress it further than I have before. My highest skill total on an RS3 account was somewhere near 2000, and my highest skill total for old school RuneScape is nearly 1500. I have also never obtained a 99 in any skill, despite playing on and off since 2005. Learn and use endgame mechanics for PvM. I have very little experience bossing, with my experience mostly being Barrow's Brothers and managing to kill Jad a single time in the entire time I've played the game. Complete all bosses at least once. There are nearly 100 monsters that are considered bosses throughout old school RuneScape. I would like to kill each of them at least once. Complete all achievement diaries. The diary rewards are useful in their own ways, and while it doesn't max the account, it pushes me to get skills much higher than I've gotten them before. Obtain the Master Combat Achievement Diary, and complete all easy, medium and hard combat tasks. Becoming Master Rank means that I have become a competent PvMer and should be able to defeat most combat challenges thrown at me that might come in future. I have 3 sets of rules for this account: basic rules, combat rules and progress rules. The main rule is to alternate between killing 1000 of any monster and spending 1000 minutes, 16 hours and 40 minutes, progressing the account further in other ways. Quests can only be completed during the progress phase. If I need access to somewhere, I must already have it unlocked. I won't delay progress of the combat phase to complete clue scrolls I don't have the unlocks for. Sailing for travel can be used as needed. Many of the new islands can only be travelled to by sailing, so I'm not cutting myself off from content. Sailing combat, however, is limited to combat phase. Any other sailing activity is limited to the progress phase. Enemies can be repeated after 15 combat phases. At the start, this rule shouldn't come into effect, however as we progress to the endgame, luck will play a large role in progress, and I don't want to end up being locked out of items just because of bad RNG. Clue scrolls are to be completed in the phase they are obtained in. This is to stop myself just waiting until the combat phase, where time doesn't matter to complete a clue scroll. Enemies required for quests or diaries can be killed during the progress phase. This is so that when it would be impractical or impossible to kill 1000 of something just for a tiny bit of progress on the account. For example, the Kandarin diary requires you to kill 1 of each elemental in the elemental workshop. Killing 1000 of each of these would be impractical, especially as the progress resets when you leave the workshop. No combat experience should be gained unless furthering something in the progress phase. Combat enemies are a staple in quests, as are the wizards when completing clues. Locking them to the combat phase would be impractical. Item spawns should not be abused. I'm not an area locked account looking for ways to train in less conventional methods. I don't want to abuse world hopping in order to gather materials when getting them in the intended way is generally quicker or easier and will likely progress the account in other ways as well. Enemies are distinguished by their name or their drop table. Men, women, thieves all count as the same enemy as they share a drop table. Cyclopes on the top floor of the Warriors Guild and the ones in the basement count as the same enemy since they share the same name. The combat phase ends in one of 3 conditions. 1000 enemies are killed. This is the ideal situation no matter how long it takes. At least 1000 minutes have passed. This is for less practical situations such as facing Jad. Ideally this is only to be used once a boss is killed at least once, but also lets me leave if my current skills and gear mean I don't feel it's practical to continue. Or no supplies are left to kill the enemy. Ideally this will never happen, however if I somehow run out of things that are essential for killing an enemy such as prayer potions or food and can't get any more, I can trigger this clause to end the phase. Prayer materials can be collected and used in any way at the end of the combat phase as long as the combat phase rules are followed. This is so that if I want to use bones on the Chaos Altar for example, I don't have to stop after every inventory to run to the altar to use them. All magic is available during the combat phase, including utility spells. Anything that doesn't give skill XP can be done during the combat phase, shops, dailies, like sand from Bert, or trading cats for death runes. Non-combat experience can be gained when travelling to or from enemies, or when engaging with them, such as agility shortcuts, Hespori or Wintertot. Scaling bosses are also counted as combat, and they are totaled by the number of rewards given, not the number of kills. We're heading into this without too much of a plan, however I do have 3 main goals to start with. 1. The Rogue's outfit, which needs 50 agility and 50 thieving. 2. The 6 items required for beginner clue scrolls. 3. The Kandarin headgear, because having an inextinguishable light source is something that would be valuable in the long term. Most episodes are going to be in 2 parts, the combat phase being first, and the progress phase being second. For this first episode, however, since I don't want to jump straight into killing low-level things like men or goblins, which don't pose much of a threat, we're going to do a 3-parter, with a progress phase, a combat phase, and then another progress phase. This will set us up nicely to flow into all future episodes. So, shall we begin? We take our first death almost immediately, by not paying attention whilst getting some starting gold thieving. We grab some starter tools, start making our way towards 42 crafting with Sheepsharer. We head on over to Port Sarim to start Pirate's Treasure, grab the rum, grab the key, and then head to Rimington for the Copper and Clay for Doric's quest. We head back to Lumbridge to start Rune Mysteries, since we'll be heading to Varrock soon, then head to the Wizard Tower, grab the research packet, and then start grinding some agility in Draenor while we regen some run energy. At 13 agility and 40 minutes gone, we head to Varrock. We grab a couple of items for the beginner clues, pass the research package off to Aubrey, and grab an iron sword that we might need later for training. Back to Lumbridge, we complete X marks the spot, throwing the 300 XP into farming, since we'll need 13 farming later. We eventually make our way to a Moro rack to grab a couple of iron ore for Doric's quest. We grab the ingredients for red, yellow and blue dye, and then finally complete Pirate's Treasure, which gives us the gold ring we'll need for beginner clues. We head over and complete Doric's quest, closely followed by Goblin Diplomacy. And then Missile and Mystery. That gives us 9 crafting, so we can then use the gold bar from Goblin Diplomacy to craft the gold necklace which we'll need for beginner clues. Witch's Potion is next, then Murder Mystery, and then Beneath Ice Mountain. We jump forward 4 hours after doing some random training, to the end of Temple of the Eye, giving us access to Guardians of the Rift, and leaving us with 27 runecraft. At this point, things are going a lot quicker than I thought they would. I didn't think I would start the combat quests this early, as it sort of cheeses the start of the account. However, I thought to myself that if we just get the attack rewards, then we still have to work on strength and defense, but the increased accuracy makes things not as slow at the start. Knowing that the bosses of the next 3 quests can hit hard, we start off maging through Witch's House for a big leap in HP levels, jumping us up to 24 HP. We run from a fight after killing Bouncer to complete Fight Arena, taking us to 29 attack. Then we take on the Treenome village. And the boss is much harder now that you can't properly safe spot them, as far as I know. However, you can bounce them back and forth to make the fight much safer, standing in a spot the Warlord retreats from if you need to heal. After completing the quest, it jumps us up to 35 attack. With our new attack level, we complete Children of the Sun to access Varlamore, and then head straight over to grab us an Adamant Incinerator from the Blacksmith. We once again head back to Lumbridge, complete the Restless Ghost, Cook's Assistant, the Observatory quest, Monk's Friend, Clock Tower, Vampire Slayer, Ernest the Chicken, and Poor Sign of Interest. At some point along the way, we have also completed Priest in Peril, so we head to Canifis to grab the meat needed for Druidic Ritual. For the last 20 minutes, we head back to Lumbridge and jump onto the Alcarid rooftop course. After our first 1000 minutes of progress, this is where we end up. We have a total level of 319, 37 attack, 3 strength, 16 prayer, 18 magic, 27 runecraft, 25 HP, 25 agility, 3 herb lore, 35 thieving, 22 crafting, 9 slayer, 19 mining, 23 fishing, 24 cooking, 14 woodcutting, and 11 farming. For our first combat phase, I've decided to kill dwarves, specifically the ones here underneath White Wolf Mountain. Some stats on these dwarves: they are level 20, have a max hit of 3, have a rather slow crushing attack at 6 ticks. Their combat stats are pretty average, 26 HP, 15 attack, 16 strength and defense. They also have an attack bonus of 11 and a strength bonus of 9, so they hit a little bit more often and a little bit harder. They have basically no defensive stacks, aside from a +5 magic defense, making low level magic hit a little less often. They also have no immunities to any additional damage such as poison. The Dwarves don't have a remarkable drop table, however I picked them because they drop iron bars. Early smithing levels are rather tedious to get, so being able to get 2 iron bars from the Dwarves here mean one can skip over the early smithing and complete a knight's sword later on. After nearly 2 hours and 40 minutes, we hit 31 strength with a max hit of 6 so far. The Dwarves have been hitting a lot harder than I thought they would when I started, and I didn't plan for the food particularly well. Fortunately, we have a pretty good source of food close by. The bartender in Sayers Village sells meat pies and stews for pretty cheap, and they heal a good amount, and doesn't drop our attack stat like wines would. We'll have to keep coming back here with any gold drops we get to replenish our stock, but it will do for now. After nearly 4.5 hours, we have our first significant drop, a Chaos Talisman, which brings us on to what I'm dubbing Drop Table Facts. On the gem drop table, you get a chance at either getting a Chaos Talisman or a Nature Talisman. The wiki states that typically a Nature Talisman will be dropped above ground, and a Chaos Talisman will drop underground. The drop is actually dictated by the player's location on the full map, with an entire zone dedicated to the Chaos Talisman. This also leads to some oddities where you might expect to get the Chaos Talisman, but instead get a Nature. The entirety of Brynhaven Dungeon is located in the Chaos Talisman section, except for the Iron and Steel Dragons. Also, the entirety of the Strongholds of Security, and all of the Catacombs of Korend and its attached areas are outside of this area, so drop Nature Talismans too. We get a mystery box from the quiz event, which gives us a steel plate body, replacing our Khazard armour. And after just over 11 hours, we finish our 1000th kill, and we head back up into the sunlight. After those 1000 kills, our melee stats have jumped up quite a bit. We finish off with 39 attack, 40 strength, 45 defense, 41 HP and 24 prayer, as well as gaining a single crafting level from random event lamps. We have picked up all the drops along the way, as they may be useful for something eventually, early game money, or they might eventually be recycled into the Giants family later on. We got plenty of nature runes during these kills, giving us plenty for using prayer training with reanimation if needed next time. The only other significant drop we got along the way was a loop half key, working us towards our first Dragonstone, which will probably be used for a Ring of Wealth eventually, but that will need some significant time and effort putting into magic and crafting to get it created. Now let's jump straight into the second progress phase of the account. Starting off by completing Waterfall Crest, Demon Slayer, maging down the Demon for Grand Tree, and completing the introduction to Recipe for Disaster. We start Rag and Bone Man whilst in the area and complete Gertrude's Cat, which means we can start trading in cats for death runes, which will help us when we start magic training later on. After a short detour to get to 40 agility, we go and finish Knight's Sword, jumping us to 29 smithing. Then we go and complete Plague City, Biohazard, to get easy access to West Ardoin. Then we head up to the combat camp to finish off the Easy Ardoin diary, so then we can get 200 deaths when we're trading cats. Since the reward lamp can only be used in skills over level 30, and I don't want it sitting around in my inventory forever, we use bronze bars from the Dwarves, get the little bit of experience we need to hit 30 smithing, and use it on that. Twilight's Promise is next, so that we can use the Quetzals for travel, which we first use to get a bunch of dice for the quest later on. We then complete both the Mountain Dwarf and the Goblin General's parts of Recipe for Disaster, unlocking the Iron Gloves from the Cullenman's chest. Moving on, we complete Elemental Workshop 1 and 2. Then we finally go to the Strongholds of Security and claim our 10,000 gold and grab the fancier boots. We then head over and trade in our first cat for 200 death runes to start stockpiling them up. We train up some woodcutting along with fire mating to be able to chop the enchanted tree for the Lost City and safe spot the spirit down with magic. We then complete Death of the Ocean so that we can access the bone crossbow when we get 28 range. We eventually hit 42 crafting after hopping worlds for soda ash and sand. Then we do some travelling to get some new armour now that we have 45 defence. Rune is just a bit too expensive for us at the moment, so we grab an adamant full helm from Barbarian Village. We swing by the Champions Guild to get a black full helm and plate legs, and then swing by Horvik to get a black plate body. This will be for when we eventually get access to the Warriors Guild and need to farm for tokens, since black armor is the first set that doesn't have a chance of breaking when fighting, and has the best token to HP ratio. We head back to Valamor to grab an adamant plate skirt, and realise that we don't have enough money to get everything, so we spend some time here thieving from the wealthy citizens to get some more money, then come back to grab the plate body. Hopping on a Quetzal, we fly over to Alduin, then down to Mistrock to get the last piece, an adamant kite shield. As we near the end of our time, we finish the Kandarin Easy Diary to collect our headgear. The lamp can only be used on skills over level 30, so we put it into smithing again. Lastly, we spend our remaining time getting a bit more money from thieving, then head to Port Sarim to stock up on as much raw sardine as we can to keep our kittens happy. So, at the end of our second progress phase, we have gone up a significant amount of levels, sitting at 644 total level. We've gone up to 46 attack, 43 strength, 13 range, 25 prayer, 25 magic, 41 HP, 42 agility, 10 herb lore, 52 thieving, 42 crafting, 2 fletching, 16 slayer, 9 hunter, 26 mining, 38 smithing, 24 fishing, 28 cooking, 37 firemaking, 36 woodcutting, and 15 farming. Only our defense, construction and sailing have stayed the same. For sailing, I'm probably not going to make much progress on that until we make a good amount of progress into construction as well, since they are both closely tied to each other, and not having a good ship will be a detriment at the least, and a gold sink at the worst, due to reclaiming costs. At the end of this video, this is what our quest log looked like. We completed a total of 48 quests, and have a total of 89 quest points. The most important quest probably being X marks the spot for Zaya, Children of the Sun for Valamor, Biohazard to work towards the Elven Lands and Prifddinas, Death of the Auction for access to some of the cheapest range training equipment, and Temple of the Eye, not only for some great rune crafting experience, but it will likely be the most consistent way to get runes without spending excessive amounts of gold. Finally, this is what our bank looks like. Organisation is currently all over the place, since we don't have that much stuff yet, but we'll slowly work on that as we continue. The only major things of note are the 216 cakes, so we're not worrying about food on these early levels, and the 3 beginner clue caskets from skill training. Once the first 5 videos of this series are out, I will be doing a rules and FAQ video to clarify the rules and answer some questions, so if you want to know about plans for the future and such, leave a comment below. Lastly, I'd like to give a shout out to my good friend Choopy, without whose encouragement and support, this video wouldn't exist.